My grandparents were quite good at drawing, but they didn't have any kind of career in the arts.
In the last few years, my mum has started doing my life drawing class, and she's actually very good. So perhaps it came from her, but she's never tried it out before. So, I mean, there was always music around, but it wasn't really a creative household. I just realised I remember when I was tiny colouring in, and then in colouring books, and then really early on remember making things. So always sitting at the kitchen table, making things out of paper and sellotape, and then and drawing and painting as well. And I particularly remember painting a boot. For some reason I had to paint a boot at school, and just suddenly I must have been about 6 or something, and just seeing the light falling on it and seeing the way the perspective worked, and I just remember suddenly something clicking at that quite young age of how to look at the world and draw things.
My whole life, I've worked really, really hard at looking and observing and trying to faithfully represent what's there in front of me in a kind of as objective a way as possible, as loyally as possible. I think the most important thing at the moment is colour accuracy and light and tone. I would say it's not abstraction if I was being really strict about it. It's coming from the visuals. It's a way of interpreting, but simplifying. So it's my way of simplifying what is absolutely definitely there in front of me, in which case it can't really be called abstract. But I think the effect of simplifying something so much makes it look slightly abstract. I kind of see it as if you were to squint at the world, that's what it looks like. So any brush marks and things are just they're a result of economizing what I'm looking at. But on top of that, I might add a few kind of weird blobs and circles and stylistic choices that feel like they need to be there for the painting rather than for the thing that's being represented. So sometimes it needs to be choppier and scratchier and splashier, and sometimes it can be thinner paint and more straightforward and simple. Yes, it's definitely just instinctive. I can't really explain why it needs to be there, which is what I see abstraction as. You can't really necessarily articulate these things. They just, they just work, or you try them at least and hope they work. I think it's relatively easy to do a passable, convincing landscape, but things from my painting, and I want to develop and do different things. So the biggest challenge is not to rest on your laurels, to keep pushing and to take risks rather than be comfortable. I think the best thing is just to do it, do lots of it. If you do lots of it, you are going to change and improve. You almost don't even need to think about it then. Things will happen. But also just life goes into your painting. So I read as much as I can. I engage with the landscape as much as I can. I go out sketching so that I'm noticing new things, and really importantly, go to other exhibitions, see the work of artists, not just that I can relate to and I find myself similar to, but completely different artists. So that, because all of these things feed into your work, they leave this kind of trace on your work in unexpected ways. So I think allowing all of life and learning and other art to creep in, and letting yourself be exposed to lots, I think is the thing that keeps you going and keeps your work interesting. I've always loved painting trees, so it's kind of easy just to be led by instinct and by what you're interested in. So I'm spending time in forests, learning about where temperate rainforests might be, sketching in them, making paintings of them. Like I said, I love painting trees anyway, just for the way light falls on them. This temperate rainforest is something that a lot of people don't know that we have in the UK. You think of rainforest as a tropical thing, but all down the west coast, so certainly in Scotland, that's where the kind of stronghold of remaining temperate rainforest is. But all down the west coast, because the rainfall is so high, it's suitable for rainforest. There was rainforest in the past. If you look at kind of culture and stories and music, there was a lot to do with deep, dark forests. And unfortunately, we've lost quite a lot of them. And we still are losing a lot of them. Sometimes you just see it as a bit of neglected woodland, where actually it's this incredibly wonderful, important, ancient habitat. So from an environmental point of view, it's really important. From a cultural point of view, it's really important. I find it fascinating, and it's beautiful, and it's terrifying what we might lose. I've mentioned about looking objectively and loyally. Cézanne apparently said of Monet, he sees with an innocent eye, and Monet is one of my favourite painters. And there's a real kind of, he's detached from what he's seeing, the subject, and he's just seeing the light. And that's the way I found best to engage with the landscape. In fact, there's a lot of, sometimes environment and environmental causes and the landscape can get quite political. So I found like the best way to look at it is that very objective way. I mean, it's a good way to look at the world in general, especially if you have political ideas, I guess, that you want to be honest about things, look at things objectively and realistically, so you can be honest about what you say about it. And that kind of ties in really well with just looking at the light falling on things. You don't have to make any decisions or kind of curatorial choices in your painting. It's just there for you already. And it's got this it kind of democratizes the landscape. You can have the most beautiful light falling on just the most mundane or vulgar, not stereotypically beautiful landscape. So for example, I've seen the most radiant sunsets on a car park behind a grotty bit of town, where the puddles are lit up in pinks and purples, and it just turns into a romantic painting, and the subject is secondary. It's the light, the beautiful thing in it. So do you know what I mean? Light can fall on anything and make it gorgeous, and you can ignore what you're looking at and just enjoy the light and colours, I think. I mean, light is it's what you kind of see first when you're bleary-eyed in the morning. It's what you're first aware of, like when you're born. It's just the very first thing. It's a real primal thing that everyone has access to, and it doesn't need explaining, and it's warmth and it's life. It's a primal thing to engage with that's just there and easy, and yeah. I'm only really working on one painting at a time because I like to be fully in it and absorbed with it, and so I don't like a painting to go overnight. I need to start early in the morning so that I can finish that day, because I just don't like to sleep on it. It may be fine, but I don't like the idea that I might be in a different mood. You know, I might be in the mood for something else the next day. It's sort of while I'm in the moment. So yeah, it's all in one day. I find that can feel, I mean, it can sound like it's rushed, but there's a lot of effort that it's quite tiring painting, because you put everything into it. You're really concentrating to sort of simplify something so complicated so that it can be expressed in fewer brush marks. It's quite a lot of effort. It seems like a simple thing to do, but it's quite hard work to summarize so much. I start off quickly with a painting, so I'm doing marks quickly. I'm getting the sense of the painting down quickly. So I don't tend to do like compositional plans first or rough studies. With oils, they're so flexible, movable. You can, if you're not happy with the early composition, you can shift things around. So it seems pointless to do a study. Yes, I'm working it out as I go. I never know how it's going to work out, which is the fun part of it, I think. You have a vague idea that it might work somehow or be interesting along the way, and then just go for it. I find towards the end of a painting, I'm gradually slowing down so that I can catch myself at a sensible time to stop, and then every mark becomes very considered. So no mark should be like extraneous. I mean, it's not always how it works out, but my aim is for never to use two marks where one will do. And one thing I found myself being drawn to a lot is this idea of contre-jour, which is looking towards the light. And if you look towards a bright light, if you're outside and you're looking at it, say it's early in the morning and the sun is low, you're looking at the light, and it's all like a bit dazzling and blinding and bamboozling, and that's something I quite like. There's a lot of interesting things happen in the shadows and in the dazzling bits that I enjoy. That's where abstraction, I guess, can happen, or within confusing, blinding light. So I quite like that, you know, looking into the light like that. I guess part of the benefit of keeping things like economic and simple, is that there's less information there in the painting. So there's kind of more space for people to bring their own memories and ideas to it. And I hope that people find something like familiar, like it just kind of opens a kind of window onto some of their own memories of being in the landscape. And yeah, so they feel this kind of familiarity and even better kinship with the landscape. What I'd love, I mean, the environment is one of my main concerns in life, and I would love it if having paintings in the absence of actual landscape and actual nature and countryside, I would love it if people see the paintings and kind of are reminded that it exists, and then have this just in the back of their head to protect it and love it and make choices for the environment. I mean, that would be ideal. I don't know if that happens at all. I know some people who've bought my paintings who live in cities like it because it keeps them more connected. It keeps them connected in some small way to the natural world. So I hope, building on that it just reminds people that it's there, and to engage with it, and reminds them that they love it.